Arsenal. Arsenal need 3 more wins. That's it. That's the whole thing. 76 points. 35 games played. Top of the table. Champions League semi-finalists. Saka scored the winner against Atletico Madrid to put them 1 game from the final. And yet, this club has been here before. Top at Christmas 2 years running. Top in the spring. And then nothing. No trophy. No title. Just the same gut punch ending that's been haunting the Emirates since 2004. This time feels different. Man City dropped points at Everton. A 3-3 draw when they needed 3 points. Arsenal now have a 5-point cushion with 3 games left. The math is in their favor. Win their games, the trophy is theirs regardless of what City do. Simple. But Arsenal aren't good at simple. They're good at complicated. They're good at bottling it when the pressure is loudest. That's the brutal truth. Odegaard's been in and out with injuries all season. Martinelli still can't find consistent goals. The striker situation is a genuine problem. They've been asking Trossard to lead the line in patches, and that's not good enough for a title charge. What they need is nerve. They need Arteta to trust the process one more time. They need Rice to win every second ball. They need Saka to be Saka on the biggest days. And they need the dressing room to believe they won't throw it away again. Because if Arsenal blow this from here, with a 5-point lead and 3 games left, it won't just be another near miss. It will be the defining failure of this generation. The one nobody forgives. Win it, and everything changes. The whole narrative. The whole legacy. 3 wins. That's all. Manchester City. Man City need Erling Haaland for 1 final title surge. 71 points. 5 behind Arsenal. A game in hand. And absolutely everything riding on the next 3 weeks. Pep Guardiola is still here. Haaland is still the most lethal striker on the planet when he's right. They've still got the EFL Cup in their trophy cabinet this season. But the league? The league is slipping away. That 3-3 at Everton was the moment. City needed a win. A straightforward, professional, put the game to bed by halftime win at a bottom half side. And they got dragged into a scrap. Everton equalized in the 89th minute. The title momentum shifted in one night. City are still alive. Mathematically alive. But they need Arsenal to drop points, and that's never a comfortable position to be in. What they need, more than tactics or schedules, is Haaland at his monster best in every single remaining game. When he's on, City are unstoppable. When he's quiet, they look like a very good team. Not a champion team. Very good. He's 24 goals for the season. He's broken records. But the title needs a moment from him now. A hat-trick at the Etihad. A winner in a game that matters. The kind of performance that reminds everyone why City paid whatever they paid. The problem is the pressure. The narrative. The entire football world watching every touch. And Pep knows that if this title goes to Arsenal, his era at City is entering its final chapter. He needs his best player to be his best player. 3 games. Do it now or it's Arsenal's year. Manchester United. Manchester United need Michael Carrick to be the answer they've been praying for. 64 points. Champions League confirmed. 3rd in the table. And genuinely unrecognizable from the team that Ruben Amorim left behind in January when he was sacked after that spectacular falling out with the recruitment department. Under Carrick, United have beaten Liverpool twice, beaten Chelsea twice, beaten Arsenal, beaten City. The Big Six record under this man is extraordinary. They are clinical against top opposition. The problem? They kept dropping silly points against mid-table and bottom-half clubs all season. West Ham took points off them. Crystal Palace took points off them. Sunderland. Promoted Sunderland, took a draw at Old Trafford. That's the gap between 3rd and 1st. Not the big games. The forgettable ones. What United need now is for Carrick to build this summer. Because this 3rd-place finish is built on sand in some ways. Bruno Fernandes is still not settled in his best position. Cabinho is still not getting enough minutes. The spine of this team needs investment. Quality centre-back. A world-class number 9. Because Chesko at 73 million showed flashes, got crucified on social media, and still hasn't nailed down a consistent starting role. United need Carrick to be given the tools, the transfer budget, the full backing of Ineos, and the time to actually build something. Because right now, the exciting signs are there. But they've seen exciting signs before and woken up to the same nightmare. Liverpool. Liverpool need this summer to feel like a reset, not a surrender. 58 points. 4th. The defending champions, sitting in 4th, 5 points off United in 3rd and clinging to a Champions League place. That is the story of Liverpool's season. Defending champions to 4th. £500 million spent in the summer. An entirely new attack. And a season of chaos, inconsistency, and individual brilliance masking collective confusion. Van Dijk scored a stoppage-time header to win the Merseyside derby. That's the Liverpool story in one moment. When the moments need great players, the great players show up. But you can't build the title charge on moments. You build it on systems, patterns, trust between attackers, defensive solidity that doesn't crack every other week. Slot has done a decent job managing the transition, but decent isn't good enough when you're the defending champions. Wirtz has finally started contributing. Salah has had flashes of his old self. Isaac has been electric in bursts. But none of it has clicked. Not fully. Not for long enough. What Liverpool need this summer is surgical investment. Don't buy more attackers. They have enough. Buy a commanding defensive midfielder who can protect Van Dijk. Buy a centre-back for when Van Dijk's legs eventually go. And give Slot a preseason where he can actually drill these players until the patterns are automatic. Because right now, Liverpool are a very talented collection of individuals. Next season, they need to be a team. Aston Villa. Aston Villa need their top 4 nerve to hold. 58 points. Level with Liverpool on points. Separated by goal difference. And the fact that Liverpool and Villa are fighting over 4th place with 3 games left says everything about how wild this season has been. Villa lost at home to Tottenham at the weekend. Tottenham. 17th place Tottenham. That result doesn't just cost points. It costs confidence. It costs momentum when you need it most. Unai Emery has built something real at Villa Park. The 8-match winning run earlier in the season showed what this team is capable of. But they've been inconsistent when the stakes are highest. They dropped points against teams they should be beating. And now they're in a straight fight with Liverpool for a Champions League spot that determines the trajectory of this club's entire rebuild. What Villa need is their best players to be available and focused. They need Ollie Watkins to score goals in the run-in. They need their midfield to control games rather than react to them. And they need that home support at Villa Park to be the difference in their remaining fixtures. If they hold 4th, this is a genuinely brilliant season. If Liverpool pip them on goal difference, the questions start. Did they peak too soon? Did Emery's system get found out? They're 1 or 2 results away from a historic achievement, or a bitter lesson. No middle ground now. Bournemouth. Bournemouth need to turn this magical season into something tangible before it slips through their fingers. 52 points. 6th. The longest unbeaten run in the league this season at 14 games. Bournemouth. The club that was fighting championship football not long ago. Andoni Iraola has turned them into a genuinely organized, tactically sophisticated Premier League side that nobody wants to play. They beat Crystal Palace 3-0 at the weekend. They're in the European conversation. This is not a fluke. But here's the thing. 6th might not be enough for Europe depending on the FA Cup final result. The complicated qualification maths could leave them on the outside looking in. And that would be brutal for a squad that has earned something. Dominic Solanke left in January for that bumper fee and somehow they've been better without him. Evan Nilsson has been excellent. The pressing system works. The team spirit is obvious. What Bournemouth need is to finish the job. 3 games. Win them. Make sure the points total is undeniable. Because this squad has given Iraola everything and they deserve the reward of European football. They deserve the nights under the lights against continental opposition. The story of Bournemouth in Europe would be one of the greatest things English football produces in years. Don't let the maths deny them that. Win the games. Make it irrelevant. Brentford. Brentford need 1 more push and a summer of smart decisions. 51 points. 7th. Exactly where everyone said they'd be, which is somehow the most Brentford thing imaginable. Thomas Frank left in February to take over at Tottenham and then got sacked 6 weeks later. In between all that managerial chaos at Spurs, Brentford just kept quietly winning games under whoever was holding things together. That is the culture Frank built. A culture that survives the exits. Bryan Mbeumo has been their best player again. Yoane Wissa has chipped in. Ivan Toney, long since gone to Saudi Arabia, is apparently watching from afar and probably wishing he'd stayed. The team that nobody expects and nobody fears until it's too late. Classic Brentford. What they need now is clarity on the managerial situation and a summer where they keep their best players. Because Mbeumo is going to attract attention. Big attention. Arsenal, Spurs, United level attention. If Brentford cash in and reinvest smartly like they always do, they'll be fine. If they cash in and misjudge the replacement, they'll spend next season fighting relegation. They've shown they can survive transitions before. They need to do it again. And if they finish 7th and sneak into Europe on the maths, that would be the heist of the decade. Brighton. Brighton need to prove this season isn't a false dawn. 50 points. 8th. And Fabian Hürzeler's first full season in charge looks like a genuine success from the outside. Danny Welbeck scoring goals. The younger players developing. The style of play still recognizably Brighton. Attractive, progressive, smart. But 8th again. Always 8th or thereabouts. Always impressive. Never quite cracking the top 6. The problem Brighton always face is this. They produce excellent players and then sell them. Caicedo went. Mac Allister went. Sanchez went. De Zerbi went. And yet somehow the conveyor belt keeps running. Hürzeler deserves enormous credit for maintaining the standard, but at some point Brighton have to decide what they want to be. What they need this summer is to keep their core players. Don't sell Minte. Don't sell Welbeck if he's still performing. Back the manager with investment rather than expecting him to perform miracles every window with whatever's left after the sales. Because Brighton's potential is genuinely top 5 level if the recruitment stays disciplined and the manager gets real backing. The gap between 8th and 5th is not talent. It's squad depth. Give Hürzeler depth and this gets interesting. Chelsea. Chelsea need to stop sacking managers and start a sentence. 48 points. 9th. 3 managers. In 1 season. Enzo Maresca gone on January 1st after a breakdown with the ownership. Liam Rosenior lasted 4 months and got sacked in late April after 5 straight defeats without scoring. And now Callum McFarlane, the interim, is trying to hold the last few games together while the board presumably already have their next appointment lined up to fire in 12 months. This is Chelsea's curse and it is entirely self-inflicted. They have Cole Palmer, who is one of the best players in England. They have a squad that on paper should be top 4. They have resources that most clubs would die for. And they have finished 9th with a 5 consecutive defeat without scoring sequence that was their worst since 1912. Since 1912? Let that land. What Chelsea need is revolutionary simple. Pick a manager and commit. Not for a season. Not until the first rough patch. For 3 years minimum. Let them build a culture. Let them drill the patterns. Let Cole Palmer have a head coach he trusts, and who trusts him back. Because right now Palmer is carrying this entire attack, and when he's double-marked or rested, Chelsea have no plan. None. A proper manager with a proper system and a proper preseason could turn this squad into something frightening. Instead they're 9th. Again. Everton. Everton need this Goodison Park farewell season to end with something to celebrate. 48 points. 10th. And somewhere between the chaos of their boardroom history, the new stadium on the horizon, and the drama of a mid-table season, there's actually a story worth telling here. Grealish has been outstanding on loan. The fans are singing again. The Hill Dickinson Stadium opening next season represents a genuine new chapter. They drew 3-3 with Man City at the weekend and had the game in their hands to win it. But 10th in the table and no European football tells the real story. They should be better than this. Sean Dyche is gone from Forest, but before he left Everton there were real signs of progress. Now Moyes has steadied the ship, kept them mid-table, kept them safe. That's something. Not everything, but something. What Everton need is to make the Grealish loan permanent. £50 million. Find it. Because a player who was named Premier League Player of the Month in August and has been creating chances all season is not a player you let walk back to Manchester City to sit on the bench. Pair him with a striker who can actually finish the chances he creates, and Everton become a genuine European challenge next season in their new home. Miss the signing, lose the momentum, and they're back to spending another year just surviving. Fulham. Fulham need their squad quality to match their ambitions before the window closes. 48 points. 11th. Right in that Europa Conference League mix. Marco Silva has done a brilliant job keeping Fulham competitive on a relatively modest budget. They're organized, they're hard to beat, they've had some excellent results this season. But the gap between Fulham's best and Fulham's average is enormous. And in a tight European qualification fight, inconsistency kills you. Rodrigo Muniz has been decent. Andreas Pereira has been creative. And Adama Traoré is still doing exactly what Adama Traoré does, terrifying defenders for 20 minutes and then producing absolutely nothing in the final third. 5 years from now, someone will write a documentary about the gap between Traoré's physical gifts and his end product. It'll be the saddest film in football history. What Fulham need is a clinical striker. They've needed a clinical striker for 3 seasons, and they still haven't solved it. Every summer Silva talks about adding goals. Every summer they bring in someone adequate when they need someone brilliant. Solve that one problem and Fulham aren't chasing European football. They're locking it down in March. The infrastructure is there. The manager is there. The squad is nearly there. One proper number 9 changes everything. Newcastle United. Newcastle need proof that the Saudi project isn't over. 14th. hovering around the middle of the table. A season of underachievement from a club that was supposed to be building something special. They were fourth 2 years ago. They were supposed to have Champions League football as the base. Then they sold Alexander Isak to Liverpool for $125 million, which should have funded a rebuild, and instead the whole thing fell apart. Eddie Howe looks under enormous pressure. The goals have dried up. The defensive solidity that made them so hard to beat has crumbled. And Bruno Guimaraes, the best player at the club by a distance, has spent the season quietly watching his prime years tick away in mid-table mediocrity, while Real Madrid and Barcelona circle. He's going. If Newcastle don't dramatically change course this summer, Bruno is going. What Newcastle need is the ambition that the Saudi ownership promised. Stop selling the best players. Start signing world-class replacements. Give Howe a proper striker and a creative midfielder who can build something with Guimaraes before he decides he's had enough. Because right now, Newcastle are a cautionary tale about how fast the project can go wrong. One bad transfer window. One big sale without adequate replacement. And all that goodwill, all that excitement, all those Champions League nights, starts to feel like a very long time ago. Crystal Palace. Crystal Palace need to sort out Mark Gahey's future before it becomes a catastrophe. 43 points. Essentially safe. And the story of Palace's season has been survival, some promising performances, and the ongoing soap opera of their captain's contract situation. Gahey had that failed move to Liverpool on deadline day. He went back, refused to sign an extension, and has been playing out the final months of his deal while Real Madrid, Barcelona, Bayern Munich, and half of the Champions League watches every game. Oliver Glasner has kept Palace competitive. Eberechi's has been excellent in flashes. The team has character and organization. But they're a selling club waiting for the next sale, and that's never a comfortable identity to build around. What Palace need is simple clarity this summer. Either sell Gahey for proper money in June before his contract expires and use the fee to rebuild, or accept you're losing him for free and plan accordingly. What they cannot afford is the limbo of a player in the last few weeks of his deal, with half his mind on his next destination, as the squad dynamic starts to fracture. Get it done. Make the decision. And use whatever comes from it to back Glasner with 2 or 3 players who commit to the project long term. Palace have good foundations. They just need to stop building on quicksand. Leeds United. Leeds United need to prove that Premier League survival was the point, not just the plan. 43 points. Safe. Back in the top flight after years in the Championship, and this first season back has been exactly what it needed to be: hard, educational, and just about good enough. Daniel Farke has managed the return brilliantly. No big dramatic collapses, no relegation panic from match day 15 onwards, just steady, determined survival football. Crescencio Somerville has been electric in moments. Patrick Bamford, remember him, has contributed when fit. And Elland Road has been as ferocious and relentless as ever, giving Leeds a genuine home advantage in every single game they've played there. What Leeds need is a summer where they back themselves. They've survived. Now they need to grow. Sign one genuine Premier League quality midfielder. Sign an attacker who has played at this level before. Don't go back to the Championship habits of panic buying whoever's available in September. Get the business done early. Because the second season in the Premier League after promotion is always the real test. The novelty's gone. Teams have figured you out. You need to figure them out first. Leeds have the fanbase, the stadium, and now the experience. Use all 3. Nottingham Forest. Nottingham Forest needs stability before this managerial merry-go-round destroys them. 42 points. Safe. And what a chaotic way to get there. Nuno sacked in September. Postecoglou in for 39 days. Lost every single game, gone by October. Sean Dyche stabilized things briefly, sacked in February. Vitor Pereira back for a second stint, somehow working this time. 3 managers in 8 months. The fact they're safe is practically a miracle. Morgan Gibbs-White has been the constant. The player who's kept his head while the dressing room swirled around him. Callum Hudson-Odoi has contributed. Anthony Elanga has been lively. But this squad is exhausted. Mentally, tactically, physically exhausted by the chaos of the dugout. You cannot build anything sustainable when the instructions change every 2 months. What Forest need is Vitor Pereira to stay and be given a proper preseason to actually implement his ideas rather than arriving mid-season with 20 games left and survival as the only brief. Sign 2 or 3 players who fit his system. Be stable. Be boring. Forest have been many things this season. Boring would be genuinely refreshing. Sunderland. Sunderland need to make this moment count before the Premier League swallows them whole. Back in the top flight for the first time in years, and the Wearside faithful have been magnificent. Packed crowds. Deafening atmosphere. The return of the Tyne-Wear Derby for the first time since 2016 was one of the stories of the season. But the table tells a harder truth. Sunderland have been in the bottom half for most of the campaign, surviving on spirit, set pieces, and the kind of defensive resilience you'd expect from a team that knows exactly how much this matters. Regis Lebris has done an admirable job, but the quality gap between Sunderland and the established Premier League sides has been exposed repeatedly. What Sunderland need is investment from ownership that matches the ambition of the fanbase. Not championship-level recruitment, Premier League-level recruitment. They need a striker who can score 20 goals. They need a creative midfielder who has played at this level. And they need to do it before the first window slips by, because the second season is always when promoted clubs either establish themselves or go straight back down. The fans have shown up. The money and the players need to show up too. Tottenham Hotspur. Tottenham need Roberto De Zerbi to save them from themselves. 37 points. 17th. 2 points above West Ham. The relegation zone is one bad result away. This is not an exaggeration. Tottenham Hotspur, a club with 60,000 seats, a global fanbase, and one of the most expensive stadiums ever built, are fighting to stay in the Premier League. Thomas Frank sacked. Igor Tudor sacked after 6 weeks. And now De Zerbi on a 5-year contract, trying to rescue a season in its final 3 weeks. The 2-1 win at Aston Villa at the weekend was massive. Climbing out of the bottom 3 on the back of a result against a genuine top 5 side. That's the kind of win that saves seasons. That's the kind of win that De Zerbi's football is built to produce. His teams play brave, attacking football. They press high. They create chances. Whether that works in a relegation scrap with everything on the line is a completely different question. What Spurs need, more than tactics or formation, is belief. They've had the belief kicked out of them by a season of managerial chaos, poor results, and the gradual draining of confidence that comes from not winning. De Zerbi needs his players to trust the process immediately. No preseason. No gradual build. Trust it now, in the most pressurized possible circumstances, or face the unthinkable. Tottenham in the Championship. Say that out loud. Feel how wrong it sounds. Now understand why these last 3 games are the most important of their decade. West Ham United. West Ham need their season to not end in total humiliation. 36 points. 18th. In the relegation zone. The final safe spot. Nuno Espirito Santo was brought in after Graham Potter's sacking and has steadied things marginally. But steady isn't good enough when you're in the drop zone with 3 games left. They took a 3-0 defeat at Brentford at the weekend. The goal difference is catastrophic at -19. They trail Tottenham by 1 point with a vastly inferior goal difference. Jared Bowen has tried. Lucas Paqueta has tried. But this squad has been badly assembled, badly managed for too long, and the chickens are coming home to roost in the cruelest possible way. The London Stadium sits there, vast and impersonal, a monument to ambition that never quite materialized. What West Ham need right now is very basic: win football matches. They need Bowen to find form. They need set pieces to go their way. They need Tottenham to drop points. Because if the mathematics work against them and they go down, the questions about the whole project become very loud very quickly. A new stadium, a mid-table reputation, and now potentially championship football. The board would have a lot of explaining to do. Win the games. That's the only priority now. Burnley. Burnley need to start the rebuild immediately and learn from the wrong lessons. Relegated. Confirmed down. Scott Parker departed by mutual consent on April 30th. 8 days after the club was confirmed relegated, the manager was gone too. Mike Jackson is now the interim for the final games. It's an ending that felt inevitable from October onwards. Burnley came up via the Championship, were immediately punished for not investing adequately at Premier League level, and paid the price. The squad wasn't good enough. Certain signings were Championship signings given Premier League wages. The gap in quality was exposed week after week. What Burnley need is the kind of ruthless honesty that's uncomfortable but necessary. They need to accept they got promoted and tried to survive on the cheap. That doesn't work anymore. Championship clubs are investing more every window. The gap between the leagues has never been smaller at the top end. If they want to come back up and actually stay, they need to spend properly in the summer. Sign players who have proven themselves at this level or shown they have the quality. Bring in a manager with a clear identity, not just someone who looks steady. Because the Championship in 2026-27 is not going to be a pleasant stroll back to promotion. It is going to be brutal. Wolverhampton Wanderers. Wolves need a complete rebuild from the ground up. Relegated first. Confirmed on April 20th. The longest losing run in the division this season at 11 consecutive games. The longest winless run at 19. Numbers so bad they look made up. Vitor Pereira sacked in November. Rob Edwards came in and stopped the bleeding marginally but couldn't reverse the damage. A season defined by futility. This is a club that needs to ask hard questions. Not just about the manager or the recruitment strategy, but about the ownership and the model entirely. You cannot operate the way Wolves have operated over the last 2 years and expect Premier League football. The summer spending was badly judged. The player recruitment was chaotic. And when results started going wrong, the environment became toxic quickly. What Wolves need is one thing above everything else: a proper 5-year plan. Not a panic plan. Not a react to every crisis plan. A structured, coherent vision from the top of the club to the youth academy that makes decisions based on long-term sustainability rather than short-term survival. Get the right manager and give him 3 years minimum. Build a squad around a clear identity. And accept that the championship next season is not a disaster. It's an opportunity to reset with dignity. The clubs that come back from relegation stronger are the ones that don't pretend it didn't happen. Own it. Fix it. Come back ready.